Well, hello there. Hello. I am so excited to do this live on the drive because a couple things. First of all, it's an extendo version because I'm not doing my normal commute, so I get to hang out with you guys for a heck of a lot longer. I'm actually just gonna see how long this will go for before maybe they kick me off, or I don't know how it's gonna work. But anyways, I am driving from lovely Beaumont, Alberta to Calgary, Alberta, and it is 249 odd kilometers, so usually it takes about 3 hours, give or take. But I planned this for an hour and I just got gas, had a little snack, had some water, and I'm ready to talk to you guys about the 7 pillars of a successful and sustainable small business. So super exciting stuff here. So the reason that I'm doing this broadcast and the reason that I'm talking about this particular topic is because the small business failure rate is insane. So many small businesses don't even bother launching. It's not that they don't bother launching, it's just that they can't launch for a number of reasons. And then other small businesses, if they do launch, they end up failing. And I think this is just like a crime. I think that the small business owner is the change maker, is the innovator, they're the employers, they are like the unsung heroes of our society, and they need more support. I know because I am one. So that's why I'm doing this 7 pillars for sustainable self-employment, because I think it's super critical. I think that a lot of people focus on things like marketing, which are totally important, but there are a lot more things that are important. Marketing is just one component, right? You can't have just like a one-legged stool, otherwise it's gonna fall over. So I'm going south to Red Deer. Here we go. You guys are coming with me. Safe lane changes. Not even looking at the camera, just so you know. My sister-in-law gave me a stern talking to the other day about looking at the camera too much, so I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it at all. So anyways, the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, and none of this is rocket science, none of this stuff is anything that you haven't heard before, I don't think, but maybe not in this context, or maybe not delivered via this wicked, unique mechanism via watching me drive. Anyways, the first thing is having a plan. So I'm gonna just use a really dumb example here, but I'm driving to Calgary right now. So if I didn't know, if I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go maybe north or something, and I didn't have a specific destination, and I didn't have, hi Cami, thanks for coming and hanging out with me, I appreciate it. But if I didn't know where I was going, then I would just how am I gonna know which way to go, right? So it's about having a destination and a plan. And that seems so basic, but the thing is that it takes concentration and it takes being decisive to create your destination and therefore your plan. It's not very sexy or fun, right? It's oh, planning, boo-hoo. It's just better to go out and make bank. That's what everybody talks about. It's oh, I'm just gonna go out and make lots of money. And okay, cool, but I don't know, Michael Jackson, for example, or not Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, for example, he's a pro at doing up his shoes and running, right? Not sexy stuff, but the slam dunk is the sexy thing that we're trying to achieve, and it's the basics really matter. So having a plan, and this is what the plan covers, is knowing just basic stuff about your business, what do you do? Who do you do it for? Why do you do it? How do you do it? Where do you do it? And where do you see yourself going in 10 years? What's the best outcome that you can envision for yourself? So are we talking you want to be on the beach sipping Mai Tais, or do you want to be running a multi-million-dollar corporation, or do you just want enough money so you can live and not have to send your kids to daycare kind of thing, right? It really depends. It's very tailored. So it's super important to get clear on that. And I was watching this TED Talk by this lady whose name I cannot pronounce, but I will post the link after, and she just talks about how to get from where you are to where you're going. And one of the most important things to do is to just write out and draw out where you're actually going. So, and our brain tries to stop us from doing this because it's oh, there's just resistance comes up, Cami was talking about, and yeah, all this resistance comes up, and I don't know about you guys, but my brain always tells me I don't need to do that stuff, that I'll be fine without it. And call it ego, or call it the lower self, or call it fear, or whatever you want to call it, but basically people don't want to do this basic stuff. So you want to come up with a vision not only for your business, but also how you want it to serve you, because the thing is if you're going into self-employment, you're going to be working your butt off. It ain't easy, because you're doing 25 different jobs. You're the accountant and the bookkeeper, and at first anyways, right? So you're gonna be working hard. You might as well create something that's gonna work for you and serve you and be on your own terms. So for me, for example, it's Wednesday, I'm driving, I'm out here because I want to be, I wanted to catch some sun, I wanted to see some friends, I wanted to see some clients in Alberta. I got my dog with me, you know, like that's freedom, and I love that. So anyways, just basic stuff. So like you can create like a 1-page business plan, be like, this is my business, this is the problem I solve, this is who I solve it for, this is how I deliver it, this is where I deliver it, this is the big why behind my actions here, and this is where I see myself, or this is where I want to be in 10 years. Simple, right? So spend a couple minutes, or like however long you want, whatever, grab a coffee, grab a whiskey, whatever floats your boat, and write that stuff down. Get yourself a plan. That's my number 1 pillar. Because if you don't know where you're going, then you're not going to get there. Guaranteed. And I think it's actually kind of hilarious that I'm driving right now to a destination, and like if I didn't know where I was going, I would not be able to plug whatever into GPS to tell me how to get there, right? So same thing. And even if you don't, what do they say? If you reach for the moon, at least you'll end up among the stars, or whatever the case is. So that's my first pillar of self-employment success, is like have a plan, know where you're going, and know why you're doing it. So here's why some of this stuff is important. So if you know why you're doing this will help you on days when it's hard, because some days are hard, and you know, it's like we get crippled with like self-doubt, and we're like, oh my god, why are we doing this? And like all our efforts seem to be showing up or like creating nothing. We're just planting seeds, we're not sowing things. So you're like working your butt off and nothing seems to be happening, and like people aren't calling you back or whatever it is, and you can start to get demoralized and wonder why the heck you're doing it, right? So it's like really important to be able to tap into your why. And I'm going to share a funny little story with you about why. So I got this from Darren Hardy, who I think is the publisher and founder of Success Magazine. Really cool magazine. I think if you subscribe, they'll still send you a CD so you can listen to interviews and stuff in your car, or maybe it's MP3 by now, I don't know. But anyways, so it's the story of the burning building. So if you put like a 2x4, like a plank, on your floor, and you are, like I say to you, I will offer you $20 to walk from one end of this plank to the other end of this plank, like lengthways. You know, most people will say, yeah, I would do that for $20, right? Because like it's a no-brainer, super easy, right? So say I take that exact same plank and I magically somehow am able to put it in between 2 buildings, and we're up like 85 stories, and I say to you, I'm going to give you $20 to walk across this plank. So it's basically the same thing, right? It's still walking across a plank, but the odds are higher and the risk is higher. And you look at me and go like, yeah, right, there's no way I'm doing that. And then the third scenario is the same situation. We got the plank, we got the $20, we got the buildings, it's super high up, you got vertigo, you're scared of heights, it's scary, it's not a good thing. But on the other side, and Kemi, I think you'll identify with this, is that your cat is trapped in a burning building. Oh my god, right? So all of a sudden you have this motivation, you have this big why, you're like, heck yes, I'm gonna go. Like, I don't know about how you feel about your cat, but I assume you feel the same way about your cat, how I feel about my dog. And yeah, I'd be scared, and yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but I would definitely run across that plank at 85 stories high in the sky to save my dog from a burning building. And so that's the power of why, right? It can like help you do things that you wouldn't normally do because you're just like, you're inherently motivated, right? So that's the kind of thing. Kemi, I'm sorry, I can't read some of the stuff that you're typing here just for like road safety. When I come into like, I'm sure there's going to be construction, and I'll be able to answer your questions there. I'm pretty positive there's going to be construction, because there's always construction. But anyways, so that's the power of why. So who you serve is also big too. So a lot of, I mean, people in marketing circles talk about this all the time. It's like, who's your target audience? Who's your target audience? And I had a friend of mine who's an artist say, you know, like, I haven't been able to figure this out, because usually they want to talk about demographic information, right? So it's like really hard to connect with your target audience when you're thinking about like how old they are, or like where they like to shop and stuff. Like, that's part of it, but I like to look at it more like what are these people concerned with? What are they obsessing about? What are they worried about? What keeps them up at night? What do they dream about? What questions do they have? What problems do they want to solve? Excuse me. Where do they see themselves? Like, those types of questions can like really getting clear on that sort of stuff in terms of serving your audience, like what they really care about and what questions they ask, that can help you solidify your tribe. So for example, my tribe is self-employed people, either ones who are just starting out or just about to start out, and they're feeling overwhelmed, confused, etc., and they just want a shortcut to the success part of things instead of doing the trial and error and like expensive mistake making. And small business owners or self-employed people who are in a business that they are surviving in, like they're making money, but it's not actually serving them, it's not actually on their terms, it's not actually working for them, they're maybe working too hard, too much, not making enough They want to move it from like a brick and mortar business to an online business. They want, you know, they're in that transition period. So those are my two people, right? And nowhere did I say like, oh, these people like cats or they live in Calgary or anything like that. It's like what they're up to and where they're trying to get up to. So that is kind of how I think it's just easier, and it also makes more sense to paint the sort of picture of who you serve in your one-page business plan, which for all these people joining, it looks like I got a couple people. Hey guys, I'm wearing my sunglasses for safety, and I promised my sister-in-law I would not look at the camera too much for safety. She's in insurance, and I think she hears bad news every day, but if you're watching, hi Tani. Anyways, so for the folks who are just joining, thank you so much. I'm not going to be able to read comments or anything like that until I'm done this 1 hour special segment of Live on the Drive talking about these 7 success principles for sustainable self-employment. So we've been covering right now having your plan, which again sounds really unsexy. Like a lot of this stuff isn't like a magic pill gonna fix your situation, you know, just like do this one thing and everything's gonna be magically better. That's not really how small business works. That's not how reality works. And if it does work that way, then there's like always a horrible downside in my experience. So having a plan, just like real basic stuff, 1-page piece of paper, talk about, you know, what business you're in, what problem you solve, who you serve, why you're in that business, how you're going to deliver your products or services, where you're going to deliver your products and services, and how this business is going to serve you 10 years down the road. So I was just specifically talking about who you serve and how to kind of get clear on that. We talked a little bit about why and how having some inherent motivation is really, really important to help you get up out of bed every single day and do something that nobody is going to give you a raise for. They're not going to promote you. They're not going to give you a little award that's like shaped like a unicorn and say thank you for your awesome service. You're not going to be employee of the month. Like that shit doesn't happen. Excuse my language, but that shit does not happen when you're self-employed. You have to like give yourself gold stars. You know, every once in a while you get a good like testimonial, or your clients will be, you know, super happy and stuff, and that makes it all worthwhile. But otherwise, you got to motivate yourself. So getting clear on your why is really important. If you haven't watched the Simon Sinek TED Talk, highly recommend that. He's all about the why and talking about people buy from you not because of what you sell, but why you sell. And I think that's true. I think that people can tell your vibe. If you're just like slimy sort of car salesman and you're just trying to sell cars so you can like buy alcohol, then I think people can tell versus someone who actually like authentically wants to help you, right? Or like has some kind of like bigger story, right? So my bigger story is like I've been self-employed for 15 years. That is a really long time. I started when I was 23. I'm 37 now. So yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, not because I'm dumb or not because I didn't have good intentions or anything like that. I just didn't have experience. So I made lots of really expensive mistakes, lots of really painful mistakes, and I just want to save you guys the trouble. Like, if I could save you guys like even one of the dumb mistakes that I made, then like my mission here would be good, right? Because I think that self-employed people are the change makers. They are the employers out there. They are the innovators. They are like the backbone of our society, and I think that they don't get enough love. They don't get enough like real talk support. Anyways, I kind of ranted there a little bit about my why, but you see, like, I'm all jacked up about it. I see how like passionate I am about it, and that helps me on the days when it feels like nothing is happening. It's just like crickets out there. People aren't responding to my emails, and like no one comes to my live videos or whatever. It's just like fodder to help you keep on trucking. So again, and then I'm going to move on to pillar number 2, and then after that, you guys guessed it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because we're going all the way to 7 today, live on the drive. I'm going from Edmonton to Calgary. It's 3 hours long. So we'll see what stops first, whether Facebook cuts me off or I need to like stop and get gas or whatever the case is. Anyways, it's a straight line. I promised my sister-in-law I would not stare at the camera, so I can't read your comments. So that is the number 1 pillar of success, is to have a friggin' plan. Like, know where you're going, write it down. Just write it down on one piece of paper, where you're going, who you serve, what problem you solve, how you're going to solve that problem, where you're going to do it, whether it's location-based or online, and why you do it. And I think that's probably pretty good for your plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to end up like nowhere, and guaranteed your business is not going to serve you. And so it can be that basic, right? So that is your number 1 pillar. So the second pillar is one of the ones that you guys have probably heard me talk about quite a bit. Stay hydrated, folks. It's important. But it's marketing. So if you're in business for yourself, like, you are in the business of selling yourself. And I know that there's a lot of folks that I'm talking to right now that are looking at signing up with the Rising Tide group mentoring program, and a lot of them are like healers and creatives and stuff like that, and there's a real block, it seems, to marketing in that industry or sets of industries. Like creative people, in my experience anyways, and that's not just them, but like lots of folks are like, ew, I don't want to market myself. I don't want to be like a used car salesman. That's what somebody said to me yesterday. I don't want to be a used car salesman. And so here's my response to that, is that basically I think that the thing that you really want to do in your business or in your life that translates to your small business, I think the reason that you want to do it is because other people need it. I think it's like bigger than you. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you take the stance of being educational as opposed to salesy, I think it really takes the grossness out of it. Either way, marketing's important. You can't just not do it. I think Henry Ford said turning off your marketing budget is like taking off your watch and hoping to stop time. Something like that. Really hilarious for like a guy from way back in the day. But anyways, so marketing's super important. So the basics of marketing, and that's my background. I've been running an online marketing firm since 2006, and I've been in the industry of online marketing since 2003. So that's where kind of I come from. But basic sales stuff, 4 P's of marketing is product, price, place, and people. So you want to have the right product in front of the right people in the right place, like where they are, and priced appropriately so they feel like they want to buy it. So in plain speak, what that means is you need to be clear on the things that we just talked about in your first pillar, which is your plan, right? So who do you serve? What problem do you solve? And so most people kind of know this, but like they can't see the forest for the trees. They've been in their business thinking about it by themselves for too long, and they get all muddled and confused. So this is what I always recommend you do. Either get a friend to help you or do this yourself and interview yourself. And just like pretend like you're getting interviewed for a magazine or something. Be like, so what do you do? And like, why do you do it? And like, how did you get started? And blah, blah, blah. And in that interview phase, you will get a lot more relaxed, and you'll be able to sort of communicate the value behind what you offer. So you have to be able to communicate value. It's all about the value. And it's not about your perceived value, because you can think you're awesome. And that's great if you think you're awesome. But it's way more important that your customers think you're awesome. And not just awesome, but willing to trust you and give you their money. So you have to be really clear on that, because if you're not clear on that, then other people are not going to be clear on that, because it just won't communicate properly, right? So it's about the problem that you solve for your customer and the transformation that they can experience after they work with you or after they buy the thing or whatever, right? So like, I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe because I drank way too much coffee today, the Slap Chop comes to mind. I don't know if you guys remember that thing, but it was like that crazy infomercial. And it was like this device that chopped up vegetables or whatever it was. But anyways, it was like super obvious, right? Before you have an entire carrot, after you have chopped carrots with like absolutely zero effort. And so that's like how basic it has to be, like transformation. So for example, my folks, you come into the Rising Tide Small Business Mentoring Program, which of course I'm pitching you guys on this right now. But anyways, it closes tomorrow, small class sizes. But anyways, if you have not started your business yet, you're likely confused and overwhelmed and unsure and unclear, and you keep spinning your wheels and you're not going to get anywhere. And you don't really know necessarily where to start. You go through this program of mine, 6 months later, you're going to spit out with a business that actually is up and running. It's online, you're clear on what you do, who you offer it to, the whole nine, and you're making money. You know that it's set up properly with a professional. And there's a lot more details. You can check it out on my website. I won't get into that, but like, this is the transformation. It's like going from like confused to clear and up and running, not just like a business in your head, right? And so then you have to get into what are the benefits of that. So that's the features. The benefits are that you will feel better self-esteem. You will have more freedom because you have your own business, and you have more freedom because you're making your own money. You are making an impact in the world, so you feel more satisfied in your day-to-day life, like you're making a difference in the world. Maybe you are feeling more proud of yourself. You have better self-esteem. Maybe you're a better leader to your people, to your family, to your children. Maybe you are just like feeling more love, more lovable. Who knows? Just, you need to drill down to like what the feelings are, right? So most people make decisions based on fear, and they make decisions based on alleviating discomfort. So that's typically what drives us. I know we're all fancy with our cell phones and our like highways and stuff, but like really we're just animals, and we're basically meat bags filled with chemicals hurtling through space and time. Anyway, not to wax super philosophical about that, but this is marketing. This is marketing 101. It doesn't need to be complicated, guys. Like, you don't need to have, everybody's like, say to me, they're like, oh, I need to have Snapchat. It's like, well, do you really? Like, if you aren't clear on the transformation that you can provide for people and the benefit that you provide for people, then you should work on that first. Like, really, 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 really work on that first. And then my analogy about marketing is always, I do this one analogy, like how it's like fishing. So anyways, marketing is a lot like fishing, especially online. So going back to the 4 P's of marketing that I was talking about being like your absolute basic need to understand these things. Product, price, place, and people. So, okay, picture this. So you got 2 situations. Say you're fishing and you want to go catch some fish, right? And anybody who actually does fish, I want to say that I want to apologize to you in advance, because I'm probably going to use the wrong lingo, because I don't fish. I have lost 1 crab trap in my life, and it was very dramatic, and there was no fish were caught by that crab trap. So anyways, fishing fails aside, I'm going to just jump right into my analogy. So this is the analogy of how online marketing and marketing period is a lot like fishing. So say you want to catch a fish. You could go about it 2 ways. One, you could just go grab like a worm or whatever and go to like a random lake or river with a fishing rod or maybe a stick and like a wire and like hope for the best, right? So predictably, the success rate of that sort of behavior is going to be pretty small, because you're basically like what I call the pray and spray. You're just like hoping it's going to work, right? So what you could do instead is you could figure out what kind of fish you're trying to catch. So say it's like salmon, for example, or maybe tuna, or maybe halibut, because halibut's really tasty. So halibut, for example. So then it really narrows down where you're going to go, right? Because you're going to want to go to where the halibut are. And then you're going to also want to make sure that you have the food that the halibut like to eat, right? That's solving their problem for them. So halibut get hungry. That's their problem. How are you going to solve it? You're going to feed them. So you need to know what is going to help feed them. Like, what do they like to eat? So now you know where you're going. You know who you're after, or what fish you're after. You know what bait they like to eat. And then if you were really, really clever, you would think about and do some research and figure out like where are spots where other fishermen don't know about yet, or where do they not hang out. Yay! It said we were disconnected. I'm so glad you're back. Okay, eyes back on the road. I was talking about fishing. So if you are trying to catch a fish, we went over this, you want to make sure that you know where they are, what they like to eat, what kind of fish you're after, and where the least amount of fishermen are. Those are like your 4 basics for marketing. So the fish are your customers. What they like to eat is like the problem that they have and how you're going to solve it. Where they are is like, where are they? Now, most people are on the internet, right? Where are they? On Facebook, or are they on Snapchat, or are they on Google, or are they on video? Like, most people are pretty much everywhere these days, but like where specifically, the more specific you can get, the better. And then where is the least amount of competition? So you want to go to like a lake where there's no fishermen, or I think halibut come from the sea. So say a sea spot in the sea, a spot of sea where there's no halibut fishermen, right? Because then you'll have better odds of success. They're all like hungry halibut out there, and there's no food for them because the ocean apparently is filled with plastic right now. And you come in like a savior and you give them their food. And like, so that's basically my analogy for an underserviced niche. So if you're in the marketplace and you're solving a problem that other businesses aren't solving for people, for a big enough amount of people, then you're golden. And that's really what marketing is. So I think it's Peter Drucker who said that you should know your customers so well that your product or service sells itself. So that is totally true. So anyways, as far as your marketing goes, best thing to do is figure out what problem you solve, for who, and another thing that's really important is looking at the differentiation. So why are you a better choice than anybody else? So you definitely want to have like some idea about this. It can be confusing. Most people just say like, oh, I offer better service, but like I want you to like think about this creatively. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but there's this company and I think they wash windows, or maybe it's just handyman services, but it's called Men in Kilts. And I think the joke is supposed to be about like guys not wearing underwear. I think that's what that's about. And I'm not judging. Like that's cool. That's their business idea, but it sticks out, right? Because I think, based on my just guess here, is that they're appealing to like, I'm guessing like lonely housewives or something like that, or like if you're a lady running a household, like you'd rather pick a guy in a dress than a kilt. Sorry, don't mean to be offensive. Anyways, that's just an example. It's like a really creative way to stand out in a marketplace that's really, really, really saturated. Same thing, like that's just a gimmick. But another one, for example, is the Super Plumber Company, and they're like on time or they'll pay you. So just like whatever it is that's different about your business. Like some people, like for example, my online marketing business, I just say that I get results, and I show that I get results. And because a lot of people talk a lot of hot air, and they can say all kinds of things, but like really, I think that's, and it's been proven to me, that's what customers care about the most, right? So like whatever your customers care about the most. So make sure you've got your marketing down, and also like just having a plan and some understanding is good, but also you have to like deliver value for your customers in the marketing. So one thing that I do, the position that I take, and what I always recommend is to take the stance of an educator as opposed to a salesperson, and just educate people who have the problem that you solve how to solve it better. So one thing that has historically been really fantastic is to brainstorm 10 things that your customers should know before they commit to purchasing the product or service that you offer. So I did this with 10 things you should know about, or 10 things you should ask your web designer before you sign on the dotted line. So creating a document like that, or an ebook or a white paper or whatever it is, a guide, a checklist, is that it gives your customers something free to kind of test drive your area of expertise. Like it's just kind of like those free samples in the grocery store, excuse me. So it lets you try it before, like try out your style and your information, whatever, before you buy. Also, it positions you as a thought leader because you're the one saying this is what you should and shouldn't do. It establishes trust because you're giving people information that typically they think that they should have to pay for. So, man, Alberta is so much different than BC to drive in. There is a wide load with like so much hay on it, so much hay. And in BC, it's trees that we export. So anyways, lots of hay. It's a good time driving. So we are going from Edmonton to Calgary today. It's about a 3-hour drive, give or take. I'm not speeding, so it's going to be about 3 hours. And you guys are coming with me live on the drive. We are talking about these 7 success pillars for a sustainable small business. And I've talked a little bit about the first one, which is having a plan. Again, super basic stuff here, people. It's not extra sexy. I'm not talking about anything that's like mind-blowing, going to solve all your problems in one day, because I really think that that's a load of BS. I don't think that anything exists, especially in the small business market, that's like going to fix everything. Or is being self-employed, there's no magic pill. Like everything's hard work and dedication and tenacity and like being smart and working with a strategy and executing and testing and repeating and just like getting hit and getting back up and getting hit and getting back up. There's nothing particularly glamorous about the actual daily grind. I'll just be honest with you. Like, I mean, for me right now, it's super fun because I've been doing this for 15 years and I've got it refined to the point that it is extremely enjoyable. I work with awesome people. I get paid really well. I have lots of freedom, and it works for me. It serves me, but it took me a long time to get here. Anyways, I'm digressing. But so pillar number 1 is have a plan. Talked about this 1-page plan. Yay, back. So I'm sorry that this keeps cutting out. I thought that we're basically on a straight road here. We're on a straight road and the internet should be fine, and I remember that data is fine and cellular service is fine on this drive. So I do apologize that we are breaking up a little bit. Anyways, I was just talking to you folks about the 7 pillars of success for a sustainable small business. So we covered having an overall plan. So managing your mission is kind of what I call it. So picture like a little rocket ship, like where are you going? Talked about that enough. I think I'm not going to go into it. If you are just joining, then welcome. Thank you so much for joining me live on the drive, and just this video will be saved live and you can review it later and get into pillar number 1. So pillar number 2 is marketing. We talked about this as well. Basically just getting clear on who you serve, what their pain point is, how you solve that pain point, and what makes you different than your competition, and being able to communicate that really effectively in what they call a unique selling proposition or a unique value proposition, which is basically an elevator pitch. Something really, really simple where you can communicate to people the transformation that is available to them if they work with you or buy your product or service. So marketing, so operations is the 3rd pillar of business success. So what is operations? Sounds really boring, doesn't it? Okay, so it's not really that boring. It's actually pretty cool. It's just about like how you deliver your products and services and how you market yourself. It's about the how. So for example, do you have a brick and mortar store, like a local business where people can walk into? Do you have a virtual business where you just do all your stuff over the phone? Are you doing an e-commerce business where all your stuff is on the internet? Like, that sounds like pretty simple decisions to make, and in one way they are, but there's pros and cons to all of them, and you want to be clear on how you are going to deliver the solution that you're promising to people with your marketing, right? So operations being your business model, essentially, so how you deliver your products and services. So we were just talking a little bit about like the types of business models that you can have. So you can have a fully online one, you can have one that is part in-person, part online, you can have like just your website where you're selling products, like info products or what have you. It can be a services model, it can be a location model, whatever it is, but your operations is how you deliver, and your day-to-day operations really dictate your efficiency levels. So because